Hi, I'm Emmy. I'm 2. Welcome to Grace, Giggles, and Growing Pains by Mommy and my daddy, Jenn and Brandon Rogers.
All right. Welcome to episode 2
of Grace, Giggles, and Growing Pains. We were just talking about how the name really doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't. It may even need to change.
I think about, what's the first one?
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah, it's good though. I mean, hopefully we have, I don't know how much experimentation I'll get done this week, but ideally I can start to experiment with a more pre-recorded intro. I mean, you had Emmy say some stuff.
Emmy's going to do it. Emmy's going to do this intro or this podcast isn't happening.
Yeah, maybe Izzy can squawk in it as well. But I think the other thing is the Grace, Giggles, and Growing Pains. I love it, and it's really about the story around it, but it's not easy to understand what we're trying to do through the name.
Yeah.
It is it kind of gives the vibe and sort of what they vaguely might encounter. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I wanted to dial in more, and we kind of talked about it, is it's parenting, but why is it important? Mm-hmm. And I think part of the brainstorm that I was trying to have with you, which I always do at the worst times, because you're never in the mood to do this kind of stuff, is, we're kind of on this path of parenting our kids mm-hmm. in this age when schools are sort of out of touch and out of date, right? I think a lot of us can attest to the fact that we left school and we don't.
Do you remember anything that you learned at school? Why didn't they teach us real stuff, like how to track your menstrual cycle or how to budget?
Yeah, or do your taxes or start a business. Any of these things that are applicable in real life. And I mean, like that meme says, it's I've yet to use the Pythagorean theorem for anything. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And then on top of that, with AI, I hope everybody's used some variation of it. If you haven't, I would love to make sure that, you experiment with these free tools that are out there. But I was listening to a podcast this week and how, education is going to be different. And, in 3 to 5 years time, we're going to have the best personal teacher, world-class personal teacher at our fingertips, doctors, lawyers, accountants, copywriters. I mean, all these things are going to be functions that are going to be, we can employ or deploy maybe. Mm-hmm. So I think we've always been curious about this parenting journey and how to do it properly mm-hmm. and exploring that with reparenting ourselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, last episode, we kind of talked about connective parenting. Someone commented on YouTube talking about how authoritarian parenting mm-hmm. is similar, mm-hmm. which is now called gentle parenting. Mm-hmm. And I even commented to her and I was like, authoritarian sounds really harsh. The thing that we're trying to avoid and that we're trying to parent ourselves out of, exactly. Right? But there's a difference between authoritarian and authoritative. Yeah.
Authoritative. Okay.
Yeah, the dictator parenting. Okay. So, all right, editing Brandon here, jumping in to correct my screw up. Authoritarian is the bad one and authoritative is the good one, which is now called gentle parenting. So I hope I didn't confuse you too hard there. And I'd like to blame school. All right, enjoy. I don't know.
I initially read it as that and I was like, oh, that's a terrible name.
Yeah. So I asked her for some resources that she recommends so I understand it a little better. But I think at least for now, that's the context mm-hmm. of the parenting discussion that mm-hmm. we're continually having amongst ourselves that I hope that we can get other people involved in as well. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my little rant on Grace, Giggles, and Growing Pains.
I'm why are we here? Yeah. But yeah. This is the brainstorm that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I know you told me not to look at the camera, but I think it's just old habits from YouTube. It feels weird. Yeah. Because I know we're talking to other people, but I'm looking at you. Yeah.
Well, what's nice is that I have a second camera setup that's pointed directly at you. So, they'll see you. And, it's kind of a conversation between us that mm-hmm. we're inviting people into. Mm. So
that's true.
We'll figure it out. Maybe we do have a camera set up where you're looking into the camera. What I do also I'm not even going to get into this, but sometimes the Zoom podcasts are good because it almost does look like the speaker's looking at you. So I was thinking about that.
I don't even know what that means. What Zoom podcast?
Oh, you know how sometimes it's not in person, but it's remote. So it's kind of being recorded as if you're looking into a webcam. So
I see.
That's one thing we could play around with, but... Mm-hmm. That's enough of that.
What are some of your highlights this week?
some of my highlights?
Or one. Just tell me one. So I know you and I can keep going on and on.
You did mention you want to start it with this, but I actually didn't get a chance to think about it. Do you have one?
I do. So I briefly told you about it, but I started incorporating special time with Emmy in the mornings, because that's the most challenging time for me is, you know, when we're on a time crunch, I have to leave for a therapy with Izzy, or I have to take Emmy to summer camp, and we need to get out the door and just, you know, getting her face washed, her teeth brushed, going to the potty, that whole thing. Oh my gosh. The 3 white hairs that I always see, I know it's coming from the 3 things from our morning routine. So anyway, I was like, how can I was thinking about it to myself, like, how can I make this more enjoyable for everyone involved, especially me? And then I decided to ask Emmy. I was like, hey, Emmy, it seems like in the mornings, like, you have a really hard time. You seem sad, you know. We tell you that you're going to go to school the night before, but in the mornings you say you don't want to go, even though I know you have fun when you get there. What can we do to make your mornings more enjoyable? And she was like, I want special time in the mornings. And I was like, oh, you want it in the mornings and at night? Like, okay, done. And I thought it would be beneficial too, because a lot of times, so I'm not a morning person by any means. I don't strive to be. I kind of was forced to become a morning person after having children.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I enjoyed the mornings more when we lived on Maui, just because everything gets so dark at like 7, 8 p.m.
That's
and
right.
like you and I used to be in bed by 9, and then we'd wake up and go to CrossFit. That was our routine.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was really easy then, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like kind of, I don't have a choice. I have to get up and function. But I know that when I get up at the same time as them and I have to do everything in my sleepy state, I'm just so miserable. So I was like, okay, you know, this is going to give me incentive to wake up a little bit earlier and be more alert and spend the time with Emmy. And hopefully after we're done, she can do all the things with me, getting ready. So then this morning was the second morning of me trying it, right? So the first morning, it's so funny. Like, I felt like a butler. Like, I knocked on Emmy's door and I walked in with a tray. And on the tray, I had a little pouch of applesauce, because she said she wanted applesauce in the morning. I had my coffee. And then our special time activity, which was chosen by Emmy, is these days she's really into stencils. And I have this one big stencil with like different shapes on it. Yeah. And she's been working so hard at tracing circles and squares and triangles. We just started touching upon the star today, which she got very frustrated at. But anyway.
Oh.
Yeah. And you get it. There's like so many tiny little points, and you have to hold this stencil really steady, right? Yeah. So she's been doing really well with the other shapes. And so I have this notebook, her markers, you know, the crayons, the stencil, and our food items. My coffee and her applesauce. And I walk in and we sit down and she's like really excited. She gets up and then we do everything. And I think I did it for like 10, 15 minutes. I can't say that she was like a willing participant in getting ready, but maybe because I was not in like this frantic state too. Maybe I had more patience for her. We got to get ready. I don't want to say it's like a magic bullet. It wasn't. And then this morning, it's so funny. Okay, so last night I was like, Emmy, what do you want to do for special time tomorrow? And the funny thing is, okay, last night we were at Costco. And I was telling you how I was thinking yesterday, earlier in the day, about when I was growing up, like when I lived in Korea. So I was like under the age of 5. I used to wake up for preschool or daycare, whatever childcare I was in back then. And I woke up with my grandma always bringing me a little yagurut. I don't know what I would call that in English, but it's like a little probiotic drink. They try to sell it as a health drink, but it's just like sugary and like really good. Yeah, it's so cute and
high
tiny.
Fructose corn syrup.
No, it doesn't. I checked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't have that. And she used to poke a little straw in it. I remember sitting up in bed and drinking that and touching my little childhood hanky that I still touch to this day. And I remember it's such a vivid memory for me. And like that would be the start of my day. And I was thinking, I want to like drink yogurt with Emmy. And I had that thought. And then we went to Costco last night and they were giving out samples of this.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I didn't even know they sold this at Costco because I thought it was like an Asian drink. Yeah. So I was like, okay, we'll grab it sometime when we go to H Mart. So we bought like a 50 pack from Costco.
So big.
It's such an obnoxious amount for our fridge that's not even that big. Yeah. But anyway, so before she goes to sleep last night, she goes, Mom, can you just open the door and come in? Don't knock.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, why? Maybe the knocking scares her. But like, I had to take a pause before I got fired as Emmy's butler. Anyway, so I had the 2 drinks. And it's so funny because she had the sample. She loved it yesterday. And I thought she would just down the whole thing in like one go because it's so small. But she was like sipping it so gently. She'd take 1 sip and like do one side of the triangle, take another sip and do the other side of the triangle. And it was this whole thing. But I can tell, like, she was in a good mood today.
Yeah.
Still, again, it wasn't that much easier to get her to wash up because I had to leave for a dentist appointment this morning. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do as much as I can and then I'll finish getting her ready once I get back. But more importantly than like the results of how Emmy acted, I like how I show up much better. Yeah. And I know that bleeds out. Like when I'm pissed off, everyone in the house can feel it.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I didn't even get a chance to ask if things were going better, but already you said day 2, right?
It's day 2. Yeah, and this morning was day 2.
Not easier. Not much easier.
It's not easier, but I know it's something that I'm going to keep doing. And then I feel like one day it's just, this is how it is. Like I know she's going through she's going to be 3 next month. She's going through her little teenager, 3-nager attitude thing. So I'm not even expecting like a quick fix, but I just know this will pay off. Yeah. But apart from that, I mean, I like myself better in the morning since doing this.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a couple strokes of genius there and brilliance. The first one was that. I mean, that insight there that it didn't necessarily affect her all that much. Yeah. You know, we're going to have to plant that seed and wait for that to grow. Yeah. But I think the other one was the stroke of genius of asking her what she wants.
I know.
I mean, it's so brilliant. I mean, I hear it all the time. Even this one guy, this leadership, executive coach guy was having this quiz about, what it takes to be a good leader. And
like ask your employees.
Yeah, he was kind of quizzing all of us. And it was really like, well, you got to ask them what's important to them. And I hear this in like counseling as well. I'm always advised to, hey, you want to be a better husband? Ask your wife what she wants. And so I do try to do that. But
yeah, I didn't even know any of that. I'm like, I bet she has an answer for me. Let me ask her. Yeah. I only point that out because I feel like any experience that I have, you have some like factual thing to back it up or something that you learned that you always add to. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, but it's like, how do you always have like, and this one guy that I listened to, or this one researcher, or this one pastor, like there's something.
Very annoying about this, I know, but.
No, it's not. It's not. Sometimes it's not annoying right now. Yeah.
It has something to do with perception is reality as it relates to.
Okay, it's okay, just be yourself. This is Brandon.
Okay, really what it comes down to is selflessness, right? In both circumstance, it isn't necessarily how you can affect her and how you can do what you think is best, but you're sort of serving our child in some sense by asking her what she wants, by saying, okay, well, she can't get over this, getting ready for the day routine, but at least I can be better, right? And so I think that's a beautiful representation of.
Yeah, it's like washing her feet before literally washing her feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And at night it's nice because like when I have to keep, the nights are hard too, because I just want to chuck them in and rest after they go to bed. But it's like, hey, Emmy, after bath we get special time. What do you want to do? And I just keep luring her with that. Yeah. And one day she's gonna be like, you know what, Mom? Shut up with the special time. Yes. It hasn't happened yet, though. I know she really looks forward to it.
Yeah, but if there's anything that the Peace and Parenting podcast is teaching you, it seems like, the results or the outcomes are, you got to trust.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And to pat myself on the back, like this is me, like once my kids are clean, you are clean. You are not to eat anything after I've brushed your teeth. You can't do anything messy. But the activity that I even suggested and Emmy was so excited about was after the bath, she wanted to do finger paint stamps. Finger stamps. So it's like little ink pads and then you make little fingerprints and then you draw on top of it. I have like this book to go with it and her fingernails were so blue and I was like, this is okay. Just don't get it on your pajamas. But it was really fun. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just a little bit self-conscious of the volume. I see you kind of drifting away. So let's just keep you like real close to the thing. We're still getting our equipment set up. So.
Oh yeah, we had to switch out equipment.
Yeah. The danger this time is that it's a little too soft, the volume. Yeah. But it should be clean, so that's good. But anyway, I feel like that's a good segue into what we're going to talk about today with Izzy. About trusting the process.
Oh, yeah.
Because we talked a little bit about it yesterday. But I think there's more to explore today.
Yeah. Okay.
So why don't we launch into that story?
Yeah. So Izzy. Okay. Well, just for some context. Okay. So for Izzy, I had an unmedicated VBAC. And for those of you that don't know what a VBAC is, it's a vaginal birth after cesarean. Because with Emmy, I had to have a cesarean. We had to pull her out early because I had a low-lying placenta.
And for those of you that don't know what a cesarean is, it's typically
C-section.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's typically called C-section.
C-section.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure most people know, but just to be sure.
Yeah, I had someone, I think a friend, say like I had to Google VBAC, and it was a mom.
Oh, I figured that would be the case. Yeah.
So with Emmy, I had to get her out early because the placenta was blocking the cervix, and basically, if I went into labor. One of the things that could happen is like catastrophic bleeding, which would be terrible for both me and Emmy.
Yeah.
And so we needed to get her out early. So she came like 36 weeks and 6 days. So she was just shy of being like full term at 37. Yeah. So I remember I had to go to the hospital and get shots on my butt that hurt so bad. Oh, yeah. It was steroids to help mature her lungs,
That's right. Yeah.
And we got her out early. She was so tiny.
Oh my gosh.
And so hairy.
Yeah.
She was still supposed to be growing in there.
Yeah, she's a little monkey for sure.
And, you know, with that experience, it was wonderful because, you know, we were both healthy. You know, we didn't have any complications.
And it was COVID time.
That's right. Okay, so the thing that really wasn't fun was we were on Maui. There's only one hospital on Maui.
Oh, my God.
And, you know, I guess everyone got busy during COVID and, you know, the hospital was full.
Well, this would have happened, the conception would have happened before COVID because...
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I do know there are a lot of COVID babies. Maybe I'm mixing up the two.
Yeah.
But we didn't even get our own room in the hospital. I had a roommate, and it was the most awkward thing, having a roommate after going through, like, major surgery and, like, a huge life change, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So with Emmy, you know, we had the C-section, and I know that with vaginal birth, I've heard that your milk comes in faster because your body's like, oh, the baby's out, and everything just kind of kicks into gear.
Yeah.
But with C-sections, I've heard that there's a delay in milk coming in, and I knew that I always knew that I wanted to breastfeed my children if I could.
Yeah.
But like it was days before my milk could come in, and
we were just totally unprepared for the breastfeeding
thing. I had all the newborn essential, the gear, you know, everything else, but I just thought breastfeeding would be so easy. I didn't know it'd be hard
and natural, right? You'd think, because it's like, how are we surviving if they weren't able to breastfeed?
So that was really tough, and so I knew that for our second child, I wanted, like, if I didn't have to have a C-section, I wanted to have a vaginal birth. Yeah. And one of the big reasons was I wanted to have, okay, so the other thing too, with the C-section, you have to get an epidural. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I think I want to have a vaginal birth, and I don't want to have an epidural because I want to experience, like, my child coming out and being, like, alert instead of, like, drugged up from the epidural. And, like, to just have that golden hour bonding and then my milk coming in. And I just had this picturesque idea of what I wanted.
Yeah, because it was
at
really
the start
weird
of my second child's life. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It was really weird when the baby was born and you're like strapped.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the C-section. My arms are strapped, and I remember the doctor handed Emmy to you. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, do you want to bring it over to Jen? And I just kind of turned my head awkwardly to the side, like, I don't know what to do. And you were like, say hi. And
well,
I was like,
I mean,
hi.
I did. Yeah, well, the problem is I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, can I really take this baby right now? It's still like white and
purple.
Okay, not purple, and weird, but like
alien looking.
So tiny and just fresh out of the oven. And she's like, take her to say hi. And I'm like, what? How? Like, she's strapped. She can't hold her. When am I just just shoving her in her face? I mean, it just logistically,
and with all the adrenaline running and the drugs in me, it was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I had my own adrenaline.
I didn't want to have any of that. I wanted to be fully like,
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted yeah. So to your point. Yeah. So I had this whole idea, and, you know, I prepared. I paid for a course that wasn't cheap, and it was all about having a pain-free birth. Yeah. And what I loved about it was the idea that, you know, God designed women's bodies to give birth, and it's like the most natural thing. And, you know, in fact, I think one of the things that was stressed in there is not having someone else coach you to push, right? Like, if you can trust your body, it's like when you sit on the toilet and you have to poop, right? No one has to be next to you being like, okay, push. Like, when you gotta go, you gotta go. And I heard that natural vaginal birth is supposed to be that way. So I'm like, okay, like I wanted to fully embrace that. And that was one of the big things I didn't want. I didn't want to be coached to push. I didn't want an epidural. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of redeem the things that I didn't get to have the first pregnancy with Emmy, right?
Which is?
I wanted to hire a doula because I wanted someone that was a professional in this area to help walk us through, because we had no idea what we were getting into. Yeah. I don't think I knew anyone personally that had a VBAC, but the course that I took on her Instagram, the educator's Instagram, there's like so many beautiful stories of women that did that, you know? Yeah. So to recap,
it's you wanted to bond, breastfeed, and well, I guess those are the two main ones, aren't they? The bonding and breastfeeding were the two main priorities. Yeah. So how did that go?
Well, before we get into that, I thought it was okay. So the other thing I think is important for context is we didn't have a home.
We were homeless.
We were homeless. We were homeless because we left Maui in December of 2021. And we decided that we were going to go spend some time in New York because I wanted to see my family. Yeah. And we were living in my parents' 1-bedroom apartment for about 4 months. And we knew early on that I think I asked you that if we could stay in New York for me to have the baby because I wanted my mom around. And so after we had the baby, we were at an Airbnb. And it was a tight space in there. It was a 2-bedroom. So it was a 2-bedroom Airbnb. It was close to my parents' office. It was walking distance to a bunch of restaurants. And it was so ideal. Oh, it had a washer and dryer, which is not an easy thing to come by in Queens if you're looking for an Airbnb or even rental apartments, right? So it checked off a lot of boxes. And then one day I was thinking like, oh, I wonder how big the living room is. It just popped up. And so I went back and looked at the photos and there was no picture of a living room. So literally you go up the stairs and there's a kitchen, there's a little table, and there's a bathroom and 2 doors. And those 2 doors are bedrooms. So Brandon and Emmy shared one, and I stayed in the other one. So that, you know, once we had the baby, my mom like slept on a futon in that Airbnb. So why am I sharing this? We didn't have a home, and we were sleeping separately. That's why I wanted to share this. So we were sleeping separately, and Izzy her due date was May 3rd of 2022. So we were just like, I was just ready for this baby to come out. You know, having a toddler and being pregnant is tough.
Can we give context about why we were sleeping separately?
Oh, because I was just so uncomfortable. I was moving around so much when I was pregnant. Yeah. And then you were sleeping in the other room with Emmy in her slumber pod, right? And you were kind of working from there too. Yeah.
So, to add to that, we also were thinking, okay, well, after the baby's born, your mom's going to stay with us.
I think I shared that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Got
so
it.
I would be in the room with the baby and my mom, who would help me during like night stuff.
Yes.
Changing diapers, whatever. Yeah. And then you and Emmy would be in the other room. So the crazy thing is we're sleeping separately, and it was 2 days after Izzy's due date. Yeah. I remember I went to sleep and I woke up like all of a sudden because I thought I wet the bed.
Oh, yeah.
That I thought I peed. And I walked into the bathroom like, oh my gosh, like, so I didn't have those Braxton Hicks, which are not contractions, but they're like practice contractions. They feel more like cramps. I didn't have any of that while I was pregnant with Izzy. I did with Emmy. So this just came on so suddenly. Yeah. And I remember going to the bathroom and I'm like, am I in labor? I wasn't sure. And I didn't want to wake you in case it wasn't. And then it's like I disrupted your sleep too, right? So I just remember pacing in the bathroom, and then I started timing it. And I think they were getting closer together. Yeah. And I was just dreading like, oh my gosh, okay, I think I should wake up Brandon. Wait, when do I call my parents? Because the plan was once I go into labor, my parents would come to the Airbnb and stay there because Emmy's there. And then you and I would go to the hospital. The crazy thing was you woke up at the same time that I did.
Yep.
Totally unrelated to me. Why don't you share what happened when you woke up?
Yeah, when I woke up, I was way more conscious than I normally am, which is interesting because usually I know that I'm awake and I'm trying to fall back asleep. But I was conscious, and then I looked at the curtains and I thought I saw a squirrel, like a live squirrel, and I freaked out and I turned on the light. And it turns out it was just the way that the curtains were designed. It had like a kind of a twirly pattern that was kind of shiny. And so when I got closer to it, the very little light that hit it was making it seem like it was going up. So I first thought it was a squirrel, and then I saw it move, and it freaked me out, and I turned on the light, and it wasn't.
So thankfully, Brandon was wide awake when I was like, I think I'm in labor.
Well, but in fact, I feel like God woke me up during that time because the timing was just crazy.
It was impeccable.
Yeah, because you weren't even like making a lot of noise or anything. Yeah. So I just bolted out of bed, turned on the light, and I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Like a squirrel.
Yeah. And so, so one of the other reasons we hired the doula was because I wanted someone to coach me while I was in labor, and I wanted to hold off on going to the hospital for as long as we could. Because I've heard that sometimes when you go into labor and you go to the hospital and they check you, if you're under a certain amount of centimeters for dilation, they might send you back home. And I didn't want that. I wanted to labor actively and move around. I didn't want to be hooked up to machines. And so I wanted a doula to be there with me to help with the massages and get me into different positions and all of that. But our doula, I think we called her, not exaggerating, like 25 times, and she didn't pick up. And I was so mad. Yeah.
Just to back up a little bit, a doula is supposed to be a that helps you to stick to your birth plan.
Right.
Right.
And she
Before,
was so crazy
after,
about the fact
during,
that I didn't want to go to the hospital. She's like, yeah, that's so great. Yeah, I want to help you labor. It's best if you do it at home. And
and then and part of the services was like, date anytime, day or night. And my understanding is that pregnancy typically happens in the middle of the night. Or it happens in the middle of the night a lot of the times.
Right, because you fall asleep and then your
body's
relaxed.
And when the baby's ready, it's ready. So, and maybe because the baby's also maybe awake at night.
Oh, that's right.
Maybe something like that. But anyway, so her whole job was to do that, and she didn't pick up.
Yeah, and it was very frustrating. And she didn't show up till much later because when we got to the hospital, I think they had to check her like vaccine record for COVID and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, you and I, we rushed to the hospital. Yeah. And oh my gosh, the contractions were so painful. Like every speed bump that you went over at the hospital, it was so bad. And I think before I was like, don't let me get an epidural. No matter what, do not let me get an epidural. Yeah. And as soon as I started feeling the contractions, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. It only just started, So anyway, we get in and they put me in a wheelchair and we're checking in. And I'm like, dang, I'm having contractions. I think I'm in labor. And it's so hard to have to think and speak when you're in that amount of pain. And I remember getting in and like being asked a million questions and I had to be like, hold on, contraction. And I just had to breathe through them because I heard that if you tense up, it hurts more. But I just remember being like, oh my gosh, there are so many questions. Like I did all the paperwork. I did everything that I possibly could so that I don't have to do this. And also my doula was supposed to be next to me so she can answer the questions for me. And I can just concentrate on breathing and relaxing into my contractions.
I think the worst part was not just the number of questions, but the fact that they were so repetitive. Yes. There must have been 3 separate people that asked the same questions. And I guess I understand why they do it, just to make sure that like they all understand what you need and don't need, can't have, and whatever. But wow, that was the most annoying part of it all.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
So finally they prep us in to the room. And I remember walking in and I remember all the windows, like the tall windows. And I'm like, oh, I felt so peaceful in that room, the room that I was going to deliver in. And then I remember walking in and seeing the little bassinet with the heated lamp. And like the newborn hat's waiting. I'm like, there's going to be someone here. That's so crazy. Like she's going to join us. Make it real. Oh my gosh. And so what happened, we kind of told them what's up. Like, hey, I don't want to be hooked up. I don't want the constant baby monitoring. And I want to be able to move around. I think one of the positions that I got into was to sit on the toilet, but facing the back of the toilet. And just kind of like holding a pillow because I heard that helps. Sitting on the toilet while you're in labor apparently is supposed to help you relax your body. Just like when you need to sit and go number 2, you can sit and relax, right? That didn't work. So I remember they brought in a yoga ball for me and I was bouncing on the yoga ball. I just couldn't stop moving, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the things you asked them to not do is coach you.
Yes, coach me. Push. Do not coach me to push. Yeah, I wanna push when I'm ready. Yeah.
Yeah, but boy, yeah, that was a tough wait.
Yeah. So I was in labor for 11 hours total, right? From beginning of my water breaking to Izzy coming. But oh my gosh. So I remember walking around and I told them also that when I have the baby, I don't want to be on my back. I want it to be squatting.
That's right.
Or I wanted the bed not reclined, but like inclined. Is that the word?
Yeah, inclined.
Okay,
yeah.
Inclined, and I wanted to hug the back of the bed and like maybe be on my knees or something, because I heard being on your back that's how you tear, and
sure, yeah,
it's not the most effective way to push. But they kept trying to get me on my back, right? And every time I lie down, I was in the most pain.
Oh man, yeah, I can't imagine if you stayed on your back because they asked you to, and the amount of pain that you were going through every time you were on your back, to have to bear, like, to just suffer through that the whole time. I mean.
And they weren't like that. Okay, so I asked, like, how familiar are you guys with like women not getting epidurals and wanting a natural birth? And it wasn't that common. And I feel like for them, it just would have been easier for them to do what they know, right? Just get the epidural and be on your back.
I didn't think about that.
And so I already was feeling kind of like unsupported. My doula wasn't there from the beginning when I needed her. And then now like they're trying to get me to do something. And then I think even with the baby monitoring, I wasn't hooked up the whole time, but they had to keep checking. Izzy's crying. So if I'm distracted. Yeah. But I just remember having to tell Brandon, like, this is what I want, I don't want. And again, Brandon should have just been there by my side, just with me. He shouldn't have been the one like answering all these questions and fielding all these things and then having to ask me, like, our doula was supposed to be doing all of that. And, you know, she brought in like different little things to massage me with. But I remember during the contractions, I really needed like counter pressure. I needed like massages around my hips and just so much help. But the way that she was touching me, it was just making it so much worse. It was like her massages were like, she was using her nails and her fingertips. And at some point, you know, I'm not a very confrontational person. I don't like to make other people feel bad. But I was like, stop touching me. Get me my husband. And Brandon basically was my doula the entire time. He was like sweating probably as much as I was. Yeah,
I was getting like tendonitis.
Oh, man.
Because, I mean, I really had to... Because the counter pressure thing, I didn't know anything about that. But basically, I guess as I push your hips together, maybe it opens up the pelvis more. Maybe that's what's happening. But I had to squeeze like the sides of your hips together, like with probably, I don't know, 70-80% of my strength, just to hold it there as you were contracting.
Yeah.
It's for you to get any relief, which, you know, she's a doula. I mean, she did all the other stuff very poorly, and she's like this tiny lady, and she doesn't seem unfit, but like if that's the kind of thing you need to help someone to do this, I don't even know how she can do her job effectively, you know.
So we already started out on the wrong foot. Oh, and then during my contraction, she made a joke because she said something like, "Oh, I'm glad I got to meet you guys at the hospital because the parking around your Airbnb sucks," or something. And I was like, "Oh, you just keep adding on to."
So bad.
It was so bad. But I also knew that like if I stayed angry, it's gonna cause more pain. So I was really trying to. It was a lot to work through, and so thankfully Brandon was there. And there were some things that I feel like she kind of did step up and tell the nurses, like, she doesn't want this, she doesn't want that. So I want to give her credit to that. But I remember at the end when it was time to push, I asked to be lying on my side because they still wanted me on my back, right? And I was pushing on my side. And then at the end of it, when the doctors they ended up coaching me and yelling at me to push. She was right there yelling for me to push. When from the beginning, she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you want to do unassisted pushing. That's wonderful. Yeah. I'm here for that." And she totally did not do that for me at the end.
Yeah, she didn't. So I guess the big problem is that she didn't really do any of the things that we paid her for. But it doesn't mean that she didn't add any value, because the things that I did in her stead, I wouldn't have known to do if she wasn't there. So at some level, it was useful, but we paid her really good money to basically just do nothing. I mean, just kind of give us a couple of tips while in the action. And again, that's not nothing, but I feel scammed
this
because
is Brandon being really nice.
Yeah, I do feel scammed. I do, because she didn't provide what she said she would provide, which stinks.
Yeah.
So the overall birth was very painful. It was very
painful.
I mean, we started out the conversation talking about the course.
That's right.
Right? What's the course called?
Pain-free birth.
Pain-free birth. And I saw a couple of these videos because Jen, you really wanted me to, and I don't think your experience was like that at all.
No.
I mean, aside from the doula, drama, it was very painful, and you got to the point where you're like, I want drugs. I mean, your face was ashen, and I was at a crossroads because I was like, I want to give you drugs too.
You wanted
you
to
look
give
so
me drugs?
Miserable, but thankfully you told me, like, don't let me have drugs.
No, I think mid-contraction, I'm like, no, I don't want the drugs. And it was like, I want the drugs.
Yeah. So then I thankfully you didn't push too hard. So I said, no, babe, we can do this. Come on.
No, babe.
Please. Don't push anymore. I can't push.
Oh my gosh.
Push, but don't push me.
And then he actually ended up seeing the baby come out. And you said you were very traumatized.
Well, yeah. So then after that, you got to this point where I think it wasn't as painful. I mean, obviously it was still deeply painful, but you definitely got to this point where it seemed like maybe the hormones were working, where you didn't feel like
oxytocin, right?
Yeah, or you just, I don't know if you embraced the situation or
blacked out.
Or you blacked out, but you went through it and you were more in the fight versus like trying to run from it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, from that point on, it was just a matter of like, me doing the massages as you were going through your contractions, and then it started. I mean, the transition
is the final stage before baby comes out, and that's when like a lot of women like hit the wall, and that's when they start asking for the drugs. And after that, it's the peak of the pain, but it also signifies that baby's coming really soon. Okay. So if you can just push through that.
Oh, so is that what I'm talking about?
The transition? I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were in that mode, and then, I mean, I just
remember being yelled at. Everyone kept yelling at me to push.
Oh, so bad. And it was weird too, because I had to hold your legs because you couldn't lay on your back because it hurt so much. And so I was doing this, and I was looking down. I was watching. Our babies both had a lot of hair. I was just watching hair come out of the place down there that I'm not used to seeing hair come out, and it was horrifying. I mean, it just felt so opposite of what we were led to expect with the whole pain-free birth thing, where it's this beautiful process. You're breathing through it, you're embracing it, and you're letting gravity and nature and all this do the work. But there was 3 different ladies yelling at you at the top of their lungs, and the doula, who I thought would maybe step in and do something to change it, was sitting there doing the same thing.
Also yelling at me to push.
And the baby eventually does come out. 2nd-degree vaginal tear, huge bruise on the head, right?
Oh, did she?
Yeah, Izzy had like a huge bruise. I mean, I'm sure it's fine. Okay. I mean, this probably happens a lot.
Oh, that's right.
But you pushed so hard, she had a huge like
oh my gosh. And then
spot.
my eyes, I just had broken capillaries everywhere. I have a photo. I straight up look like, okay, I never watched The Walking Dead, but I imagine I could have been on the cast of the zombies, or it was terrifying.
No, but yeah, those eyes. Yeah, when your sister walked in for the first time.
My sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, they walked in. They were the first visitors to see Izzy.
Yeah, they came later that day.
My sister started crying. She's like, hug me. I was like, no, I'm good. It's like much worse than it looks.
Yeah.
And I kept forgetting what I looked like. Because I remember I'd look over at Joe, my brother-in-law, and I would just be joking around, and he just looked so awkward. And then I went to the bathroom later. I'm like, oh my gosh, is that what I look like the whole time? Yeah. They brought me Popeyes because that's what I wanted. I'm like, the first meal, I want Popeyes. Yeah. And they brought it, and I was just sitting there like, yes, this baby's out. I get to enjoy myself right now and eat. And
unfortunately, I think because Izzy's crying so hard, we're going to have to give the quick ending to this. But if I could lead the witness, it was horrifyingly painful birth. None of it went as expected. And then we eventually got home, and the whole breastfeeding thing, I mean, that's probably the next... I don't know. Do you want to tell the quick version of that story?
Well, I mean, my milk came in much faster.
Yeah.
And... Izzy had no issues latching. Emmy did, and she was so tiny. But Izzy was full term. She had no problems latching. And I'm like, this is why I did this. This was totally worth it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Like, I felt like I was on top of the world because I'm like, there's nothing harder that I would experience, that I would do willingly. Right. So at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I have CrossFit tomorrow. Like, CrossFit's going to be a joke. I can do anything. I pushed a person out of my body with no drugs, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like on a high from them. Like, babe, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that. And so the breastfeeding thing went well. And, you know, we felt less scared because we've done it already. So, you know, just passing Izzy off to you, like, I just felt so much more relaxed. We had our own room.
Well, so this is okay. So I thought, because in the end, the breastfeeding, it wasn't the cure. It wasn't the silver bullet or the magic bullet.
It wasn't. Yeah, we had so many. So Izzy was so fussy, and we were like, "What is wrong?" We thought she had stomach issues and all this stuff, but just turns out she was starving because I just wasn't producing enough milk.
Yeah. So in the end, like, even though it came in quicker, it took us a couple of weeks of constantly going in because we were weighing her. She wasn't gaining weight. She was crying all the time. You know, and even the whole bonding thing, it seemed like, you know, you got this connection now. But then when she was going through all this, I was the only one that could comfort her because I had to hold her in this weird sloth-like position and bounce her, and she was crying all the freaking time. Right. Your mom couldn't comfort her. You couldn't comfort her.
She would be the only way I could comfort her if she was on my boob.
Yeah.
And she would just be on the boob the whole, like, all day long. Yeah. And she was still starving.
Yeah. I mean, she was peeing and pooping like we thought, but wasn't gaining any weight.
Yeah.
And then, just that didn't. And then the other thing was, maybe we should have prefaced it a little bit before too, but we thought, like, natural birth, like, you bounce back much quicker.
I bounced back so fast. There were people just walking about and being normal. Yeah. But in fact, my C-section recovery, I feel like I recovered better and faster. Yeah,
you were tender for a long time sitting. You had to buy like a weird sitting contraption, like a donut or something.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty common for after vaginal birth. Yeah, okay. It's like one of those donut cushions you put on the chair so that, you know, your vagina is not pushed against. And so I think that part is normal. But yeah, just a lot of issues afterwards that I wasn't expecting. So to tie it all together.
Yeah. Nothing was as expected, right? And it was painful. And I think it's just as painful as us having to cut this short because Izzy's, you know, really calling for us in the room. But
and the other thing I want to mention too, I mean, you said it yesterday. You're like, this felt like it was in preparation for Izzy getting sick last year, because I thought giving birth to her was the hardest thing I will ever do. Yeah. Apart from maybe like something much more traumatic and terrible, like if our children passed away or something before we did. But apart from that, and then Izzy got sick, and I remember thinking I would give birth to her again naturally.
Oh yeah.
Over and over again, if I could have stopped that, or if I could have somehow healed her, or
yeah. Well, because before that, to continue this story in like a very short form, you know, we had this high expectation that this natural birth, lack of drugs, what do they call that again? Unmedicated VBAC would be this beautiful redemptive story of this second child's birth. But what ended up happening was it was a horrible, miserable process. We ended up struggling with the very same things, and you eventually gave up the breastfeeding thing because you just don't produce
just give her the formula. I don't want her to be hungry.
Well, this was after much stress. I mean, like, we're talking months into this journey. Then your body was still doing weird things. Like, it was, you know, even down there, it was sore for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Even long after that. I even tried to get an IUD.
And then it swollen.
And then, like, it was a mess.
Even after we made sure Izzy had enough, she was still very fussy, very, like, just tough all around. My goodness. So, like, it was never the outcome that we expected. Yeah. But interestingly,
she's back asleep.
Is she really?
Maybe. I mean, her eyes are opening and closing very slowly, so we might have a chance. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because she's not pain crying. She's just fussing. And I think it's also because she shifted her position in the crib, and she doesn't want to be that way.
Okay, good.
So I'm not worried.
Yeah, we can keep going. So anyway, love that pacing of the story, I'm sure, but
it's real life.
Yeah, it's real life.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to be perfect, I don't think we would have showed up.
That's true.
I would have been like, I wouldn't have agreed to this podcast. I was fully expecting interruptions and, you know, brain farts, mom brain. I totally have mom brain.
Yeah. But I think, if anything, when you were telling me about I keep forgetting the name of the course, the pain-free birth course, I really liked it because what it really boiled down to was when you're going through pain, it's often our nature to try to numb it, repress it, avoid it, all these different things. But what she was saying was embrace it.
Yeah, leaning into it.
And it was very much the type of things that I was learning is not even just embracing the pain of painful situations, but whenever a feeling of pain or anxiety or nervousness come up, don't even try to analyze it. Like literally just let that feeling wash over you.
Yeah.
And I remember I was going through exercises doing that then, and it was so valuable. I mean, that's just,
I forgot you were doing that.
Yeah. I was like manifesting different, it was almost like the 7 deadly sins, right? I think a lot of us were sort of being pulled by these different temptations and stuff. And so whenever I was meditating and praying and letting, not my thinking about why I was feeling the way get in the way, but just identifying where that feeling is coming from and just diving straight into it, that's when I was able to just gain way more insight. And part of that was manifesting like almost in facial, like not even almost, in facial expression, the kind of facial expression that, you know, envy, sloth, jealousy, greed, all these things would have. And so once I was able to identify where that was, it wasn't as big of a deal anymore, right? And I think we went through all these really painful things leading up to Izzy to be strengthened for Izzy, right?
Oh,
so in some sense, even though the outcome was not at all what we have Izzy, we have a baby, so, you know, we had that. But in terms of all the niceties, like breastfeeding and, you know, quick bounce back and
I mean,
healthy.
I did though, thankfully.
Yeah, you eventually did too. So, but
I know what you mean. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think the real value from all that is the fact that we can do hard things, right? And it's not even just about doing hard things. It's just noting that pain isn't the enemy in a sense. It's like the thing that's almost beckoning us forth to investigate what's really going on. So I think we learned that at some basic level. We still got more to learn, but I think that's took many strides in the rough year that was last year.
I mean, even just thinking about it now, I feel like those two experiences, giving birth to Izzy and her getting sick, it very much my control issues, right? Like it really haunted me around that, because it's like I did everything that I could, and I like to be prepared. I like to study. I like to read manuals. Like I love reading manuals. I like to know how something works and, you know, use it exactly as it was intended and all of that. And that's just like my personality. And I feel like I did everything that I could to prepare for Izzy's birth. I feel like I did everything that I could to keep her safe. And, you know, I'm already a germaphobe. So it's not like, you know, I was like, okay, second child, like I don't care. And I just let her roll around and, you know, lick the floor or anything. I was just as, I was just on top of it with Izzy. And then these two things that happened that were fully out of my control, and trying to reckon with that. Yeah. It's still something that I very much struggle with. But at the same time, I feel like I have less of my claws in it because I've had these two significant life events just play out so differently and affect me in a way where I'm like, now I feel like, it's like what my counselor said too. It's like, it seems like God is trying to get you to the end of yourself, right? Where you're kind of like, okay, you know what? You can't do it anymore. Can't. I need you to step in. And while I do have moments of that in the day to day, it was like, I mean, we're talking about life and death, you know, in terms of Izzy. Yeah. And I think that really was the start of I feel like wake up call is like a negative version of saying that. But I feel like now in little ways, I am trying to exercise the letting go and doing what I can, but just giving it back and surrendering. And that's something I have to do every single day. You know, it's like even taking Emmy to school, I'm like, wow, she's under someone else's care. Like I can't control anything from where I am, you know, like I can't control her putting her fingers in her mouth and not washing it. Like who's touching her, who's sick and who's coughing on her, and like where, you know, etc. Someone else like wiping, you know, her butt after she poops at school. Like just all these things that I want to be there for, and I want to make sure that it's done right. And I think I've just held on to that for so long. And now, you know, sometimes I go to bed without vacuuming. I know, it's crazy. Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Well, it's also good that you live with me too, because there's a lot of things that I cannot live up to your standards about. Or could, yeah. Anyway, surrender. That's
surrender. Still learning. I'm sure we'll have a lot more stories to tell. I mean, I feel like we have other stories to tell around this, but these two are.
Well, I think this is a beautiful way to end, because in the face of pain, it is about surrender, right? And I don't think it even has to be pain. Sorry. I would say strong emotions, right? Because sometimes, well, I guess like strong emotions of a desire, greed, and all that kind of stuff could be a form of pain. So maybe pain's accurate. But I think if there's one takeaway, it's that kind of stuff is inevitable, and in the face of it, face it. And I think laying down what you can, I think that's a really good place to end it. I also don't want to edit too much, but we love you guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
See you next time.
Bye.